Howdy folks, welcome back to Boondockery. Not too long ago, I was able to pick up a used USMC FILBE Main Pack for $15. It had a couple issues with it, a little bit of damage, but for the most part, it was in phenomenal condition. So, my mind, I'm thinking, 15 bucks, yeah, I could probably buy that pack for 15 bucks and cannibalize it just for the buckles and straps alone that are on it, and it would be valued at more than $15. But I started looking at this pack, and for those only two little issues that are on it, I mean, it was a fantastic pack. And I don't own a FILBE pack, at least I didn't then. So I started thinking, well, okay, this is what I'll do. I'll go ahead and pick up that main pack. And, I'll shop around on eBay. I'll look at other surplus stores, surplus websites, things like that, and see what I can do over a period of time, being very selective with, finding just the right price, just the right condition that I want. I'll go ahead and pick them up, little by little. Well, I did. I finally picked up everything I needed to get to finish a FILBE Main Pack. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I'm going to repair the damage that was done to it and show off my final pack. Before I show you the main pack that I bought, I want to show you the receipt. That's it, the one that's underlined there. USMC Main Pack, $15. Now this particular vendor in an indoor flea market has incredible deals. Every time I'm able to get into that town, I go by the flea market and I check out what they have. Sometimes nothing there I want, sometimes there's several items I want, but the prices are fantastic. I can find things that are in absolutely almost like brand new condition for cheaper than I can find them anyplace else, or it's not in that great a condition, but it could be cannibalized for parts, or it could be used for other projects that I'm going to be working on here in the next couple months, of which I'm going to be showing you on these videos. But everything I'm getting is going to eventually make it onto my videos. Just wanted to show you that receipt so I wasn't trying to pull the wool over your eyes. $15 main pack. And we'll go ahead and take a look at that pack. Now this is the pack, and just by looking at the zipper, the buckles, the straps, the molly, you can tell that this is in very good condition. Now there's no tears or holes or any issues with the main pack. However, at the top closure, this little section here has torn away at the seam in such a way to where it's completely shredded the nylon. So there is no way that can be re-sewn in a way to where it will hold together, because all of this nylon is going to continue to fray out just like that if you're to try to do it. So that is the one issue, which is not going to be that big of a deal. I'm not going to be able to repair it exactly the way it was manufactured. However, I am going to be able to repair it in a way to where it will still function and do what it was supposed to do. The other issue is right here on the back, and this is a big issue with any of the molly packs that I have seen, whether or not it's the Army Molly 2 or the FILBE or the Molly Medium, the pockets that the frames go in. Like this is the top pocket for the top of the FILBE frame. Now wherever the corners are of that frame, on the interior, the frame doesn't damage the pockets at all. However, on the exterior, of this, because it's a hard surface underneath this, every single time this gets put down, it gets banged against something, the fabric on the opposite side of that hard frame is constantly being abused. Now, some of this, very easily, if it's very minor, you can go ahead and put shoe goo on that in multiple layers until it builds up into about, I would probably make it 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch thick, a globule, to where that's going to be a shock absorber against this particular threat of damage. You can also do that as a preventative measure if you have a new Molly pack or a new FILBE pack. You can go ahead and put that on there to prevent this from ever happening in the first place. However, this one in particular, that's pretty rough. And so I've got something in mind, and this one is just about as bad a condition, so I can't stick with just the shoe goo. So I've got an idea in mind for that, to where that's going to be completely protected and 100% serviceable once I have it done. Now, the first repair I'm going to do is going to be where the frame damage is, where the abrasions to the fabric has finally broken down the fabric to the point to where it's beginning to fray and tear. We're going to nip that in the bud. And the way I'm going to do that is I have all kinds of cannibalized straps, buckles, that type of thing that I've salvaged from pieces of surplus that I don't really have a purpose for, but I could definitely use all the component parts that make it for other little projects. And this is case in point. I'm going to use this webbing to cover this, and I'm simply just going to glue that in place with some E6000. Let's go ahead and get that started. Now, first of all, I'm going to remove some of these frayed pieces. Just trim those off a little bit. Get those out of the way without causing any more damage to that frame pocket. Then, once I have those removed, I'm just going to get some of the looser stuff off with this lighter. And since it's nylon, it's going to just shrivel up just a little bit and create that into a better surface that I can work with. Then I'm going to lay that down as flat as I can. Now keep in mind, because this has been on a frame for a while, it has stretched and formed this nylon to some degree. So I'm going to have to work with that. I'm going to use the webbing, and I'm going to align that up here, and I'm going to try to get those angles as correct as I can. And let's see, that looks about right. And then right through here. Now I'm going to use a craft product. It's like a wood burner, but there's a whole bunch of other attachments that you can use with it to use it in a variety of ways other than just with wood burning. I'm going to use that to remove these. That's going to do two things. It's going to cut that off nice, neat, and even, and it's also going to heat seal the webbing so you don't have fraying like we have here from only being cut with a pair of scissors. I can go ahead and burn that off with a lighter, but it works much better when you're able to heat cut the webbing. Okay, my heat knife is hot, ready to go. I'm going to use a stainless steel ruler and just cut right through there. Couple little passes. And now that is completely heat sealed, and that will not fray. Get this
here. And we'll get the other one, the other side. You really want to pay attention while you're using this thing because it is super, super hot. It will definitely mess up your day if you're not paying attention. Okay, we have our pieces now. Now we can go ahead and start using our adhesive to glue those into position. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to align our webbing. That's going to be our shield to protect our frame pack or frame pocket. And I'm just going to make a couple of dots here so I can remember where I'm going to apply the adhesive. And I'll do that on both sides. Now that I have that in place, I'm going to apply the adhesive. Now I'm going to do a fairly liberal application of this. Now I will do the same thing to the section that's going to go on that. I want to stay a little bit away from the edges, just a little bit. That way I can pick it up without sticking to it. Now I'm going to let this sit for about 5 minutes. That way it will be very, very tacky and it will adhere much easier. That way we can turn the pack over and work on the repairs we're going to do the other side. Okay, that is 5 minutes. Let me pull this around. And we're going to press that in position from beneath and on top. Now giving it that little bit of time to allow the solvents that are in the adhesive to evaporate a little bit, it makes it much more tacky. And if you don't have to worry about clamping this down, you can go on to other things. But if you were to just go ahead and apply the adhesive and immediately stick it on there, you're constantly going to need to work with it. And this is holding pretty well. We're going to let that set for about 5-10 minutes while I do the other side, and then we'll be able to flip it over and see what we can do with the other damage. Now the back side is still continuing to cure. It's going to continue to cure overnight before I attempt to put the frame back on it, but it's definitely cured enough to where I can flip this over and get to this mess. Now this entire sleeve area is hollow. It goes all the way back through, and the cord is all up here. Now this is an absolute mess, so I've got to clean all of that out first before I can even really look at it to figure out what steps I need to do other than the ones I already have planned. I'm going to go ahead and use these snips and start cleaning all of this unnecessary stuff out of here, and then we'll get started on a good plan on repairing this. I've got all of the debris cleaned out of it, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to real quickly singe those loose fibers there so they will not continue to fray out while I'm working on it. I'll do that all the way around on both the sleeve and the attachment point. I have it cleaned up pretty good, and I'm looking at how this is made. This entire cover, this inner protective cover, it's all hollow, and I don't necessarily understand why, you know, it's all hollow all the way around, and I don't really think it's a necessity for it to be so, because we have the access point back here for any of the lines that need to go out through the cover. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up this lighter green, or this, I guess it's Mojave olive, into this center section that is coyote brown. And I'm going to take it in there a good little bit. It's probably at least an inch. And I'm going to put that in there, and I'm going to pin this into position with straight pins. And once I do that, I'm going to do a running stitch right up through here, knot it off, and knot it off down here to where it's going to hold pretty well. And I'm going to be either using, I haven't made my mind up with, I can either use synthetic sinew, which that's all nylon. It is incredibly strong. Super strong, and it's pre-waxed, so it will go through the material very easily. Or I'm going to go with my venerable tried and true 3-ply linen, waxed linen. I'll make my mind up as I'm doing the pinning. I have my pinning completed, and the weakest spot's going to be down here, but I'll sew that in a particular way to where it's still going to be pretty strong. I pinned off the 550 cord drawstring up here so that will not fall down and get in my way as I'm doing my sewing. And I am going to be using the waxed artificial sinew. I just think the color's going to match a little bit better, and it will definitely be stronger. Okay, I'm using an upholstery needle. Some people call them sail needles. And as I sew through and get past an area that has a pin in it, I will remove the pin so that way I'm not poking myself, and use my needle nose there to get that through. It's good and snug. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a running stitch, and I'll take that stitching all the way up. I'm going to knot it off here at the top, maybe do a couple little stitches here just to create a channel for the draw cord, and I'll be running that stitching right back on down. I've completed my stitching, and a little cross section up here gives me freedom of movement for the draw cord. I paralleled the stitch that was already in place. I'm going to be watching this, even though I've burned that off, hopefully to prevent a little bit of the fraying. This is the factory stitch that was on it originally, and this fabric is very obviously the fabric that tore loose from the factory stitching, and that was completely frayed out. And hopefully that particular stitch will prevent any of the fraying. However, if by any chance I do notice any fraying in this, I'm just going to go ahead and cover that completely and glue it straight to this top cover with the E6000, and glue that in place to completely stop it. I did a little cross section down here just to give it some strength internally and externally, so there won't be any pulling away here, because of the way it was sewed. I didn't want to take a seam ripper and completely take it all the way down, since this was intact. There's one little section there, maybe about 1/4 of an inch, that is not sewn. But with the stitching that's here, it should hold everything up pretty well, and I consider that repaired. Well, folks, got all the repairs finished and let the pack set overnight. Let that glue cure on the webbing that I glued on the frame pocket, and put it together. Didn't see any issues whatsoever with any stress or anything. I want to tell you about how I went about assembling this before I get in with my test drive reaction. When I first bought the pack, I thought, well, it's in good enough shape to where I can, you know, finish it off with whatever parts I can come up with. And so I did a lot of waiting and a lot of looking on eBay, a lot of other sources online, and I was able to pick up piece by piece things that I thought was a reasonable price for new. And the reason I went with everything on here new, except for the main pack, I know that may not make any sense to any of you, but I have 15 bucks in the main pack. And I was looking at a lot of the used things out there. There were a couple vendors that were selling them as professionally repaired. And I was looking at a lot of the pictures of them, saw some issues that were going to be issues that I was going to need to repair eventually later on down the road. And I was comparing those prices to the prices of new. There's a lot of vendors out there that are selling new parts for these things, and they are very high. Through the probably past 3 months, I've been biding my time, looking piece by piece. I was able to find new components for the FILBE pack at what I felt to be a very reasonable price. And some of those prices were either equal to or lower than some of the used, like new, parts that were out there. So I was able to get good deals on all the component parts and put it together. I selected one YouTube video as my source for assembling. It was very thorough. Everything was very well detailed. There was no talking. Believe it or not, I was enjoying a video with no talking. And I was able to get it together. One of the very last steps is when you attach the load adjustment straps to the frame. There is a little, I guess, caution, is that due to the manner in which the shoulder pads were designed, let's turn it right around here. There are 2 female buckles right here at the top attached to the frame and the shoulder pads. I'm going to bring you in closer so you can really see what I'm talking about. Like I said, the video I was watching at the end, it had a caution that these buckles are actually attached to the shoulder strap assembly that's attached to the frame that goes through the main pack frame pocket. Now, they were saying that due to the a design flaw, that these straps always tear off. Now, I don't know how well you can see this, but see that stress right there? That's a single row of stitching. And just by pulling that up right there, I can very easily see this tearing out very quickly. So what they recommended is that you actually attach your load adjustment straps to the buckles that were designed to attach the assault pack. And seeing how you're going to have a lot less stress on these buckles and webbing with the low weight of an assault pack, I decided to go ahead and take the recommendation. And if I wind up getting a FILBE assault pack and I wind up attaching it to the main pack, I'm simply going to use the buckles that are up here. And so took that advice, and I think that was probably a great idea. And I'm very thankful to the producers of the YouTube channel, which I'll put a link in the description box to them, for making this known to anyone that's assembling their own FILBE pack. After my first test drive with this thing, it felt in a way like just about every other large rucksack I've ever carried. Even though you do have load adjusters on here, and I cinched those down as tight as I could get them with the harness attached to my body, everything's snugged up. I still felt that weight pulling back just a little bit. Now granted, it's not nearly as bad as the large Alice rucksack, which literally, I mean, when you're rucking with that, if you have a heavy load in that, you're not going to be here. You're going to be here. And that's very strenuous after many miles. I'm going to have to really do some longer hikes with this. And I'm going to keep it right about the same weight that it is right now, just to see how I feel about it. As far as the camp that I have stored inside the main pack goes, especially for the summer months, this will be more than adequate. I probably have extra stuff in there I don't need, like my camp table, my camp chair. But you know, we streamline a little bit and use the compression straps to pull that load closer to the frame, which is pretty nice. At one time I did own one of the first generation Molly packs. It was in complete woodland, the M85 pattern, and I believe that's what they call it, M85, M81, but it was woodland, and that was the first generation. And it was very, very heavy, and the frame wasn't designed well, and the materials they were using out of it, they were breaking very easily and actually causing some serious injuries. But I really do like the design of the FILBE frame, and as a matter of fact, I like it so well I went ahead and ordered a second FILBE frame for another project you will see in the near future, another pack project. But it's very comfortable. The kidney pads, waist pads, shoulder pads, everything is very, very comfortable. The only thing that I noticed that didn't really ignite fireworks for me was simply because you still felt, even after you've pulled in your load adjusting straps as far as you can, it still had that little bit of pullback. And maybe some of that can very easily be taken care of with the way I load my kit. Maybe with a little bit of a load adjustment within the main pack, that could solve that problem. It's just going to take a little bit of experimentation and, you know, some woods time to get it down. But other than that, I like this very well, especially in comparison to that first Molly pack I used to have. This seems much more streamlined. There's much less webbing straps, there's less buckles, and there's still a lot,
I mean, there's still a lot, but I see a lot of design influences from the ILBE, and that is the side straps to where you can reach in and lift it up onto your back really easily. You don't have to grab the shoulder straps and put stress on those and whipping them around like we had to with our Alice packs. But other than that, I like it. I like it, and I'm looking forward to getting some more woods time with it, which actually will start coming up later this evening. I've got 2 or 3 more camps that I'm going to be doing within the next week or so, and one of which will feature this FILBE. Well, folks, I hope that that's a little bit of information I provided on very simple, straightforward, not very expensive, field pack repairs you found useful, and that it's something you might be able to use in the future with your potential purchases of surplus items that do have a little bit of wear and tear, and or if you have new and something happens to them that damages them, you'll be able to do the repairs yourself, save the money from the professional repairs with stuff you may have just laying around your garage. Well, folks, as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Howdy folks, welcome back to Boondockery. Not too long ago, I was able to go to a... Howdy folks, welcome back to Boondockery. Not too long ago, I was able to pick up a FILBE large... Howdy folks. Video for a particular project I have in mind. I've picked up quite a few items that are the ACU. Let's see, it's not the ACU, the UCP. I think it's UCP. But as far as the only damage that's really done to it are these 2 little sections here. Well, I guess are these 2 little sections here. I'm going to reshoot that. And when I was assembling it, and and so far, why am I doing this?